Previously, when we looked at the classification of amino acids, I mentioned that there are few amino acids that are positively charged and a few which are negatively charged. Now, depending on the number of positive and negative charges present, the charge of protein at neutral pH can vary. So, consider the situation globular protein, which is placed in neutral pH. If the proportion of positive amino acids like lysine, arginine, and histidine is high, then the net charge of protein at neutral pH is going to be positive. Okay, or it can happen that the number of negatively charged amino acids like aspartic acid, glutamic acid, they dominate the polypeptide chain. Then the net charge on protein at neutral pH is going to be negative. So depending on how many number of positive charges and negative charges we have, the protein tends to be either positively or negatively charged at neutral pH. Now there are two important terminologies with this regard. One is isoelectric point and the other one is isotonic point. So isoelectric point is that pH at which net charge on proteins is equal to 0. What does it mean? Proteins do possess charge. Remember, proteins do possess charge, but there is equal distribution of positive and negative charges on protein, which implies that the net charge is equal to 0. On the other hand, you have isotonic point, which is that pH of protein in the absence of electrolytes, any sort of electrolyte that is present. Now, if you want to quantify the isoelectric point, we generally use Henderson-Hasselbalch equation. But we're not going to get into the details of that. Most of the time, charge group present in protein, they are present at protein water interface. This we have seen while discussing tertiary and quaternary structure. There is always a tendency to reduce the free energy of the system. So as an adaptation, what protein does is send all the charge groups to the surface so that they can readily interact with water. At neutral pH, since proteins carry net positive or negative charge, we can say that net repulsive interactions, okay, they tend to destabilize the structure of protein. Whereas if you have net positive or attractive charges, it can promote the structure. Now, if water is present in the system, the interaction energy is going to be low. It can go as low as 4 to 40 kilojoule per mole. Why? Because the molecules cannot interact readily in presence of water. Therefore, you can say the contribution of interaction energy to maintaining the stability of protein is not very high. But definitely it can have an impact on the way proteins are folded. Why? Because there are certain regions of protein where the permittivity is low, as the hydrophobic groups, they are buried deep inside the tertiary or quaternary structure. There, the interaction energy can go as high as 500 to 600 kilojoule per mole, meaning there is still some contribution when it comes to protein folding. So, to summarize, what can you say? We can say that though electrostatic interactions may not be the primary force behind protein folding, it can sure have an influence on how proteins are folded. Thank you for staying with me through the video. In case you have any queries, please feel free to put them in the comment section and I'll get back at the earliest.